Hello, fellow mech warriors, Mage Leader here. What the fuck, Games Workshop? This is a phrase that I find myself saying quite often, unfortunately. I've been a big fan of Warhammer for many years. It was my first tabletop gaming love. And you never forget your first time. It's a fascinating universe, a great fictional setting, a fun place to just kind of hang out and enjoy the badass cheese that is 40k. It's all over the top, it's ridiculous, but it's decent fun. The biggest problem, and I'm sure that Warhammer fans will agree with me on this, much like BattleTech, is the company that runs the whole thing. Games Workshop is one of the worst fucking companies I have ever had the displeasure of interacting with on any matters whatsoever. These guys are horrible with their IP. Anything that even remotely resembles it, even in passing, is almost guaranteed to get you hit not just with a cease and desist, but an actual fucking lawsuit. And that's what's happened here. So if you guys aren't familiar with No Guts, No Galaxy, which is unlikely, he's a bigger fish in the pond than I am, but if for some reason you're here and you haven't at least heard of him, he is a YouTuber who makes content primarily centered around the game MechWarrior Online. Seems to be a pretty decent guy from everything that I've seen. No issues with him whatsoever, but even if I did have issues with him, I'd still be making this video just because what he's had to go through is something that nobody should be put through. And frankly, he's one of our own. And to have Games Workshop come after one of our own is kind of a big deal to me. So, what exactly happened here? Well, No Guts, No Galaxy has a merch store. And on this merch store, I bought stuff from him before. I actually have one of his desk mats. It's like a giant mouse pad, essentially, that covers your entire desk. It's got a picture of a Mauler on it, says My Home Planet in big letters on it. It's pretty cool. I've got one of those on my desk as I'm recording this. So I've bought stuff from him before, but one of the items on his storefront was a magnet with fan art of the battle mech, the Warhammer. You know, one of the most iconic battle mechs in all of BattleTech. The Warhammer, and it's called Warhammer-Magnet. And so, Games Workshop, going around, gathering up, I think he said around 100 people, in order to just troll the internet from people who may or may not be abusing the copyright, rounded them all up, treated them all as equally guilty, and then filed a lawsuit against them. Without telling them, because apparently with this particular type of lawsuit, you don't actually have to inform someone that they're being sued until they actually get summoned to go to court. Which, the idea behind that is that it makes it harder for the person being accused to delete evidence of copyright infringement, except for the fact that I'm pretty sure that people should have a right to know if they're being sued. I think that that's kind of just how any legal system should work. And to be fair, in most states, that is the case. You still have to inform somebody if they're being sued. This was happening specifically in Florida, which is one state where this is allowed. Which, you can tell that Games Workshop looked through all the states to find whichever ones were the easiest to launch these stupid lawsuits in. It's fascinating to me that Games Workshop likes to sue so much other people for copyright infringement when the entirety of Warhammer literally started as copyright infringement, just taking a bunch of minis from other tabletop games, mashing them together and pretending that they had their own fictional setting so that they could sell the stuff they were making for other games under their own license and not have to pay any sort of licensing fee or anything like that. They could just make their own stuff. Basically by stealing designs from a bunch of other more creative people. But no, they totally own the IP and are well-placed to sue other people. There's no hypocrisy inherent in this whatsoever. Absolute clown world that we live in. But yeah, No Guts, No Galaxy got hit with this lawsuit. I'm not going to play his video here because I think that it's better if you guys go and watch his full explanation of everything. He breaks it down in pretty good detail. I'm just kind of giving the condensed cliff notes. But he finds out about this lawsuit through email. Yeah, his court summons delivered to him via email. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if I was checking my email and I saw one that claimed to be a court summons with documents attached, I wouldn't fucking click on that shit. I've been on the internet long enough to know. Every other weekend, I've got an email in my inbox claiming that somebody has deposited $300,000 into my bank account, and if this isn't correct, I could face legal action, so please come here and give you my personal information. I've seen those scams floating around ever since I was a little kid. I grew up in the internet age. I know how this works. I wouldn't touch that fucking email, and he didn't either. Who would? Who the fuck would? Who get court summons through email? That's the sort of thing you send in a specially marked envelope to their physical address. For that very reason. But no, apparently this particular law firm or company or whoever's responsible decided that the best thing to do is actually send it through email in the hopes that it gets missed or ignored. That way they don't show up to court to defend themselves, and then they just get hit with whatever the court decides that they owe Games Workshop. Isn't that nice? Isn't that lovely? So, in order to get himself taken off that lawsuit, NGNG had to lawyer up. He had to pay a lawyer, because there was nothing he could do about it himself. And, like, these guys actually went, they froze his PayPal account and everything. Like, he couldn't take money out of his PayPal. It didn't delete his account, but he couldn't actually access the funds people were giving to him in his PayPal, which is fucking great. So they basically took away a piece of his livelihood, forced him to spend a lot of money on a lawyer who thankfully gave him a reduced rate, but he still had to pay, just to get himself heard and looked at, so that he wouldn't have to pay a settlement out to Games Workshop for something that wasn't theirs to sue him over. Absolutely ridiculous. And if you know anything about Games Workshop, you know that this is typical behavior out of these guys. They are constantly suing people over shit like this. They troll the internet just looking for anything that looks remotely Warhammer-ish, and then they'll either send out a C&D or an actual honest-to-God fucking lawsuit. This happens all the time, and they hand out these lawsuits via the shotgun method, and they do not care that innocent people get caught in the crossfire. To be clear, this was not a targeted attack on No Guts, No Galaxy. They didn't just go and say, oh, he's using the word Warhammer, quick, get him. No. This was just somebody either use an AI algorithm or an underpaid intern to go onto Google and just look at the word Warhammer and grab the top 100 results and then issue lawsuits to all of them. That's how this sort of thing happens. So this wasn't done out of malice against No Guts, No Galaxy. It's worse because it was just done through sheer ineptitude, because Games Workshop doesn't actually give a shit who gets caught in the crossfire on this kind of thing. And this time, they picked up one of our boys and gave him a hard time. So, at the end of the day, what you guys do with Games Workshop is your own business, but man, these guys sure are pieces of shit. I think that what I'm going to do, it's not going to do any good, but I'm going to do it anyway, just out of principle. Send a strongly worded letter to Games Workshop telling them that they're pieces of shit and they don't approve of this sort of thing. In polite, professional language, of course. And then I'm going to give some support to No Guts, No Galaxy. This is a dude who... he's been a part of the Battletech and Mech Warrior community for many years. He's a father. He's in a single-income household. Having this sort of thing dropped in your lap when you're just trying to make ends meet for your family, I can't even fucking imagine what goes through your head when something like this lands. It's fucking awful that they did this to him. Fortunately, it all worked out in the end. He's no longer part of this lawsuit. He got dropped off, but he had to pay a lawyer to do that. That doesn't come cheap, even if he does get a reduced rate. So I'm going to direct you guys over toward his channel. I've got the link to this video in the description. You guys can go over there and send him some love. Tell him Mage Leader sent you. Or don't. I'm not your dad. But just, you know, let him know the Battletech people stand together on this sort of thing. Because this is absolutely ridiculous behavior. And I don't want to see somebody being abused by a company that I used to give my business to. So, thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, this is Mage Leader, signing off.